Oh my god, where to start this episode? It was a lot. We have a lot to cover here, so I guess we have no time to waste. I suppose we could start with the fact that the teams have now been mixed up into two teams, which is one of the many new things that this episode brings up. We have now split up the poor sinkers in order to create two new teams that have been formed based on each character's weaknesses. At first, I thought this would suck. The teams in episode 1 through 6 had such strong identities. Their bonds and dynamics felt so ingrained into the show for me that it felt like forcefully ripping them apart would have taken away an integral part of the show, especially since the whole point of this change was to make teams that would make forming bonds way harder to do. And these new teams do in fact rip apart a couple of iconic duos like Balloon and Nickel, Bo and Goo, but after watching the episode, this wasn't nearly as much of a problem as I thought it would be. It's like no matter what you do to these guys, no matter how much you forcefully tear them apart, they always manage to be super entertaining to watch. Plus, Test Tube and Cabby are on the same team still, as well as Paintbrush and Silver Spoon. Oh, and Nickel gets to be on the same team as Clover. That's always fun to see. And speaking of Nickel, I thought it would be a real letdown to see him separated from Balloon, but it's actually a really nice breath of fresh air to see them on their own. It's awesome to know that they don't need each other in order to be fun to watch. But yeah, this episode was all just really fun and nice for the most part, but there are still a couple of standout moments. The Test Tube and Cabby alliance was interesting to see. I'm glad that the argument between them in episode 5 was at least used to have them truly apologize to each other here. I also am just glad to see an alliance formation that doesn't just go, "Hey, you're a person, we have a lot in common, want to form an alliance?" Yes. Awesome, interaction over. Here, it's clear that the two of them working together makes for a powerful duo. They can get through the game pretty easily together. But it's not a perfect pact. It's shown that this alliance has potential, it just needs some work. It's actually really well written. We also got a nice little moment with Test Tube and Nickel where she apologizes to him for injuring Box and disqualifying him from the competition. We get to see Nickel actually admitting that even though he hates the people on his team, he knows that he might eventually start to like them. Just like how he started to eventually like Balloon and Tea Kettle. This is something that we don't usually get to see from Nickel. He never really admits that he's going to change. He's always stuck in his ways, and he either never changes his mind or it takes a whole lot to get him to change his mind. But having him essentially say that he might come to like his team is really nice to see. It's not a full turnaround for his character. He's still pretty stubborn, but even if it's a small change, it's a welcome one. Okay, I can't dance around it any longer. There's a lot of cute stuff that happened in this episode that I could lightly touch on, but I just gotta talk about the elimination. This was the coolest elimination yet. Test Tube deciding to immediately cut ties with Cabby was a bold move, and it was really surprising to see it come from her, but it definitely made sense. Cabby forming an alliance with Test Tube is a good move on paper, but considering their rocky history, it checks out that the alliance wasn't a great idea. Cabby's files were a huge problem. They gave her a great advantage over the rest of the contestants, and that made her a formidable opponent. This would make it really difficult to take her down later on in the game. And when you also consider that Test Tube never fully trusted Cabby, it makes sense that she would betray her like this. It helps her in the long term. I mean, it's good that she does it now before she starts getting too attached and second guesses herself. But even though this decision made sense, it was still a great surprise. I did find it really weird that everyone started looking at their folders as the votes were being shown. Like, why would they do that other than for the sake of the reveal? Didn't they have plenty of time to read the folders before the elimination? But it's not like it ruined the reveal or anything. At least it made for a cool wait, hold on a second, oh my god moment. And other than that, I love how it was all executed. Test Tube saying if I didn't solve the problem, then who would? Followed by her picking up a folder and handing it to Silver Spoon. And then everyone seeing their folders with the intense sound effects, all with great comic book-esque imagery, was so cool. It made for a fantastic elimination sequence. Although I'm really bummed out that Cabby was eliminated so early in the game. It still feels like she has a lot of potential as a contestant. But at least she got eliminated with a bang, and the way she went out felt pretty fitting. And yet, right when I thought that this was all the episode had to offer, which was already a lot, it had one more ace up its sleeve. Bo seems to be a robot. I will officially be calling her Bobot. This was a reveal. I always thought there was something up with her, but I didn't think it was this. The idea of Bobot brings up a bunch of possibilities, but it also gets me a little worried about the future of the show. I'll save the worry part for later though. First, I want to say that this is really interesting. This explains why Bo was able to compete compete in the competition despite her being dead, and it also explains why she hasn't been able to process the word chair or marshmallow. Whoever made her probably programmed her to be that way. But it also brings up interesting questions, like who made Bobot? Why did they prevent her from processing the words chair and marshmallow? Did Cobbs make her? Is he using her so he'd be able to keep an eye on Miphone's show? Does Miphone know about this? He did stop Cabby from questioning Bo too much during the elimination, which is really off-brand for him. That phone is all about drama. This is all fascinating stuff, and it makes me really excited for the upcoming episodes. But this is also where my worry starts to kick in. I think this is a good turn for a show to take. It's interesting, it's mysterious, it makes me want to watch more. That is all good. But at the same time, this doesn't seem to be good for a little sideshow that's supposed to be lighthearted and fun. I mean, I personally think that this show is already really good. I don't think it needs a dark turn to justify its existence. But when I see this reveal, as well as the intense dramatic elimination we saw before, it all feels like the show is starting to change. And it's a good change for a show to have, but context matters in this scenario. This seems like the beginning of a big turn the show is about to take, a turn that seems like it needs a lot of attention and effort in order to be pulled off well. And the idea of the II team trying to balance this and Season 2 at the same time? It doesn't sound easy. Season 2 already seemed like it was taking a lot of effort on its own, and piling on a third season that seems to be getting more and more ambitious as time goes on doesn't seem like a good thing to add onto their workload. Again, I must emphasize that I don't think this is an inherently bad thing to do. I'm liking where this show is going, but I don't know if the team will be able to do two ambitious seasons at once and somehow do them both justice. Who knows? Maybe this isn't as much of a pivotal change as I think it is. Maybe the team has it all planned out and under control. Maybe this isn't nearly as much of a big deal as I think. But as it stands now, I'm just a little worried about the show's future. But I'm confident in saying that this episode was amazing. This is my favorite episode yet. And I'm also confident in saying that the team will try their best to give this show the best future it can possibly have.